Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we'll be looking at a new poll that came out just yesterday afternoon, talking about it and what it means for this election. So let's get right into it. In case you missed it, yesterday we got a poll from Monmouth. This was their first poll since February, and they showed Kamala Harris, 48% of Americans saying they plan on voting for her. Donald Trump, only 43% of Americans saying they plan on voting for him. So as you can see, this is their first poll in a very long time, and it's a shift towards Kamala Harris. Again, back in February, Joe Biden was the Democratic nominee, and he was not doing very well against Donald Trump. Monmouth showed a much closer race that actually favored Trump, especially in the Electoral College. You look at the poll now, Harris up by 5 nationally, winning by more than Joe Biden did win by in 2020. So we see a significant shift over the course of just the past 6 months. And what's notable about this, the reason I'm choosing to make a video about this one poll, and I usually don't make videos about one poll, is, there's really 2 reasons. The first is that it's national, it's not just one state. And the second is that this is a very good pollster, and they do not poll enough. In my opinion, they should do more polls because they tend to be pretty accurate. But again, they have an A grade from FiveThirtyEight. They did registered voters on August 12th, and they released it on the 14th. And it's official as of the morning of the 15th. So again, let's get into it. So Harris up by 5 nationally. What does that mean? Well, in 2020, so if we kind of fill out this map, the 2020 map looked a lot like this, where we saw that Joe Biden won 306 electoral votes, and he did that by winning all the Hillary Clinton states and flipping back 5 states, 3 in the Rust Belt, 2 in the southern part of the country. So I'm just going to briefly fill out this map here so we can kind of have an idea of what Biden's victory here looked like. And obviously the electoral votes have shifted because we had a new census since 2020. And so the 306 electoral votes that Biden won in 2020, they are now 303. So a slight difference, but it does help Trump. But again, the map looked like this. And so if you assume Biden does half a point, or that Harris does half a point better than Biden in every state, she wouldn't flip anything. She'd only strengthen her margins, and that would be fine for her because she'd win the election. What's interesting, though, is that we know the coalition will look different this time. How do we know that? Well, first of all, Democrats in 2016 and 2020 had a very bad popular vote to electoral college vote ratio. Barack Obama won the popular vote in 2012 by, a full point less, a full 1% less than Joe Biden won it by in 2020, but he did a lot better in the electoral college because his vote distribution was more efficient. He got votes where he needed them. Biden racked up millions of votes that he didn't need in California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, whereas Obama, he might have done a bit worse than Biden in terms of vote net in California. Maybe he didn't do as well in bigger states such as Georgia or Arizona, but he did very well in smaller swing states like Iowa. He did a bit better in Florida. He did better in Ohio, which is another, kind of mid to big size state. So Obama got the votes where he needed them. Biden did not. And so Biden won the election. It didn't matter. But again, there was a chance Biden could have won the popular vote by 45,000 less and lost the electoral college just because of his performances in 3 states. So that was a very bad coalition for Democrats in terms of electoral efficiency, and the same thing happened in 2016. Hillary Clinton only won the popular vote by 1% less than Barack Obama did 4 years prior to her. But again, Hillary Clinton lost the electoral college, and she got, exactly 100 fewer electoral votes than Barack Obama did. So she did very poorly. Her coalition was even less efficient than Joe Biden's because she did very well in California. She did very well in New York. She actually outran Obama in a few deep blue states like Oregon, Washington, and Maryland. But she did, horribly in the Midwest, and she didn't do that much better than Biden in some of the, or than Obama in some of the Sun Belt swing states, like Nevada, Arizona. Didn't win Florida. So that's why in 2016 and 2020, Democrats needed to win the popular vote by more. But this time, we know they likely need to win it by less. Of course, in an even environment, let's say the popular vote is an exact tie, Trump would probably win the election. So there is a bit of a bias. It still does favor Republicans in the way the Electoral College works. But again, that bias has gotten smaller. In 2022, Democrats lost the House popular vote by nearly 2% when you adjust for an uncontested race. They lost by nearly 3% when you do not adjust, but really they lost by 2% because they didn't run candidates in some deep red seats that didn't really matter. But they came within 5 seats of winning the majority. So this time it was kind of like the reverse 2020, where the party that lost the popular vote by a good amount actually almost won more Electoral College votes in 2020, or in 2022 it was more House seats. Democrats were just a couple thousand votes away from winning 5 more House seats, and so they could have won the House, while losing the popular vote by, say, 1.5% or 1.4%. So, in 2022, the roles kind of flipped. And so in 2024, obviously, I do expect the electoral college bias to kind of favor the Republicans a bit more, but maybe not, but definitely not to the extent that 2020 or 2016 did. And so a 5-point win for Kamala Harris nationally is 100% a victory for her because we know she's going to do a bit worse than Biden in New York. We know she's likely to do a bit worse in California, potentially New Jersey, states like that, definitely Illinois, I'd say. But she's polling better than Biden in the swing states, better than Biden in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, a marginally worse in Georgia, a bit better in Arizona, and marginally worse in Nevada. And also better in North Carolina. So in 5 of the big 7 swing states, Harris polls better than Biden 2020 numbers. And so that is despite the fact we've seen some polling that indicates that we have a closer national race than we did in 2020. So just to kind of return briefly to Monmouth before I kind of conclude the video here, let's just, so I've kind of talked about, what the poll means and how that relates to the Electoral College. For the record, I think if Kamala Harris does win the popular vote by 5, I think she gets a 2020 map in potentially North Carolina, so that might actually be a bigger victory for her. But again, no guarantees. North Carolina's been kind of a state Democrats struggle in. They haven't won a federal race here statewide since 2008, so do keep that in mind. But let's talk about Monmouth's track record. So again, they have Harris up by 5, but in their final national 2020 poll, this was from the end of September, it was the day before the first debate, Biden was ahead by 6. They did overestimate Democratic support by a little bit, but not by that much when you consider what all the other polls were saying. Again, on Election Day in the 538 average, Biden was up by over 8 points. It was an 8-point lead for Joe Biden on Election Day 2020. So this poll is better than the average in terms of accuracy. And in September, and especially going back to the summer, Biden's lead was even bigger. Biden led by double digits nationally at multiple points throughout June and July. And I think even as late as October, there was a day or two where he got back up to a 10-point lead. So this poll gets pretty good when you look at it in comparison to the other polls that came out around the same time. And they were off by 1.5%. Biden won the popular vote by 4.5%. So they were off by 1.5%. And so even if you don't adjust for the other things, that is, on its own, a pretty solid poll. So this is a good poll. I like them. I wish they did more polls. But the fact that they have Kamala Harris up by 5, to me, warrants a video because this is very interesting. This is a real shift towards the Democratic Party. And I do wonder if we're approaching territory where you can make an argument Kamala Harris is favored. So stay tuned for my official updated prediction. I'll be doing an updated prediction very soon. I'll be talking about who I expect to win. So if you have not already subscribed, do that. Comment down below what you want to see next. I'm already getting a lot of suggestions. That's great. I'll be sure to do those videos you guys are suggesting. And hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.